What's up, guys? I'm Josh Mosiman. Welcome to This Week in MXA, episode number 182, presented by O'Neill Racing. Thank you guys for tuning in to this episode. This is the first time we're back in the MXA studio after 2 big weeks of racing, the Pala National and the Hangtown National. If you haven't seen those videos yet, we put a lot of time and effort into racing those races and producing those videos, so I hope you guys can check those out when you get a chance. But in this video, we're going to be talking about track toughness, and are the tracks too rough or are the tracks too smooth? That's always a huge topic in motocross and supercross, so we'll get into that in this video. Also, new bikes are coming out soon, so we're going to glance over the 2025 Hondas, Kawasaki's, and Betas. Also, we did a big test with Dunlop recently on their new AT82 off-road tire. That was a lot of fun. Let's get into it right now. So every weekend in Pro Motocross and Pro Supercross, there's always a debate about track conditions, and one of the coolest parts about the sport of motocross is that the track is never the same. Lap to lap, day by day, and weekend by weekend, the tracks change constantly, and you're never going to get a track that's perfectly the same as it was before. Now, this is one thing that I'm kind of jealous of with MotoGP, F1, NASCAR, all the automobile sports where they're on concrete and asphalt tracks. They have very consistent track conditions throughout the year and throughout years and years. And you can kind of go back and look on lap times and compare bikes and compare cars. I'm kind of jealous that we can't do that at Glen Helen, where we can't ride year round and have the same exact track with the same exact conditions to compare lap times, to compare products that we've tested on bikes, and compare different riders. We can't do that. Every day is different. We got more moisture one day, less moisture the other day. You got deeper ruts one day, not as deep ruts the next day. So the track conditions change, and that's one of the coolest parts about motocross, is the huge variable that the tracks produce. But it also makes for big questions. I don't think there's any negative part for the motocross side. It's only a negative for me as a test rider. I think it'd be nice to have a very consistent variable track. But for motocross and supercross, it's always a debate. How are the track conditions? Are the tracks too tough? Are they too technical? Or are they too easy? Now, most of the time, we're not saying that they're too easy. The Pro Motocross series is known for being some of the roughest tracks in the world, and the last few years have been very deep, soft, and muddy, especially for qualifying, and it makes for a deep, soft, and rutted track when it gets to the motos. Last year, I raced the Pala National, the Hangtown National, and the Thunder Valley National, and Thunder Valley was insanely rutted. I have some photos from after the race with ruts going all the way down the straightaways, all the way around the corners, up the jump faces, down the jump landings. It was a gnarly track last year, and I'm proud to say that I accomplished it, qualified for the National, I raced through it, and I survived a gnarly track. Same with Pala and same with Hangtown last year. Both were super gnarly. Now this year, I raced the Pala National and Hangtown. We did not go to Thunder Valley, but I can compare the tracks from last year to this year. They're not ripping them as deep this year. Pala, it was rough and soft, but it wasn't as rough and soft as it could have been. Hangtown was definitely not as deep as it was in the past. Nobody was running scoop tires for qualifying, which is a big indication of how much they watered the track and how much they ripped the track. And then same thing for Thunder Valley this weekend. I did not go in person, but watching on TV, much smoother compared to last year. You could see a lot of the corners didn't even have ruts. Guys were able to go outside to inside, and that's where the big debate comes in. When the tracks are ultra rutted and ultra technical, it makes the top of the cream of the crop pull even farther away from the pack. Jet Lawrence was extremely far ahead of the competition last year. He didn't have massive leads, but he pretty much easily won last year, hop, skipping, and jumping around the track, making it look easy in slow motion last year. He was so smooth on such gnarly tracks that it looked like he was going slow. Compare that to this year, the guys are going a lot faster. You're able to sit down a lot more in some of the straightaways and some of the corners because they're prepping them in between motos. It's not as deep, it's not as rutted, and creates different track conditions. So from my perspective, I don't know what to think. I like the idea of accomplishing a gnarly rough track. I like the idea of a Pro National being the roughest track in the world, but there is a case to point to with smoother tracks being more outside in passing, more passing opportunities, also kind of shortening the gap between the top of the class and the middle of the pack, making lap times a little bit closer, making the battles a little bit closer, maybe helping guys like Justin Cooper be able to battle with Jet Lawrence. Justin is a rookie in the 450 class outdoors, and he held strong this past weekend, leading 25 minutes of both 450 Moto 1 and Moto 2. Obviously, the Lawrence brothers got him at the end, but big debate on track conditions, and want to know in the comments what you guys think. Should the tracks continue to be super rough like they were last year, or do you like the new track conditions that we have this year? In other news, the 250 class was extremely exciting to watch, as well as the 450 class this past weekend in Colorado. Hayden Deegan got the win, but it was not easy. Tom Vial made him fight for it all the way to the end in that first 250 moto. Pretty wild to see how fast Hayden Deegan got up when he crashed while leading. Kept Tom behind him for a second. Tom got by him in the next corner, and then Tom had his hands full for the next 2 laps. Hayden was able to get by him with 1 one lap to go. Congratulations to Hayden Deegan winning that first moto. That was exciting. And Tom Vial, I was excited about how aggressive he was on those last couple laps when he made the pass, and then when he was trying to pass Hayden back at the very end there. So exciting stuff in that championship. Also, congratulations to Chance Hymas. Thunder Valley, I don't know what it is about the altitude that makes this a great race for rookies to stand out and for maybe youngsters to stand out in the pro classes, but Chance Hymas did awesome. He's now tied with Tom Vial for second in the championship. They're both 23 points behind Hayden Deegan in this championship. Levi Kitchen, so-so day for him. He is now 25 points behind Hayden Deegan. And of course, in the 450 class, very exciting to see the Lawrence brothers battling it out for the win. I was very shocked to see Hunter win the first moto. It kind of makes sense though. Now that Jet Lawrence's streak has been broken, Hunter doesn't have that pressure of trying to help his brother continue the streak, and he was able to go all out for that win. And then in that second moto, man, he went all out again, trying his best to get the overall, but Jet was able to get the better of him. Congratulations to Justin Cooper. Justin rode awesome and finished on the podium in third place after leading a ton of laps. So 450 championship is going to be exciting. Chase Sexton, tough day for him, but I do think he gained some confidence back in that second moto by running up front, making quick passes early on in the race, and then unfortunately had that mistake. But look forward to seeing what Chase Sexton can do this weekend at High Point. And with High Point coming up, I do want to mention that OGO is giving away a new Dozer gear bag to the winner of the MXA Fantasy League app this weekend at the High Point National. So if you haven't downloaded it yet, it's free to download, free to play, and pretty exciting to have our own MXA app, and you can play our fantasy league on there for free. So get signed up and win an OGO Dozer gear bag. That's actually the gear bag that I use. Huge, can fit a ton of stuff in it, and pretty good for me when I'm taking multiple sets of gear to the track. Next up, we're heading to Glen Helen, where we do some testing on the new Dunlop AT82 tires. Let's head there now. Jay Clark here, changing tires for us. We got a lot of different tires. I think there's like 20 or something tires floating around here. So a lot of tires. Dennis Stapleton, Josh Hawley, Sean Bushnell, Josh Fout, Josh Mosiman, Justin Lee, a lot of crew out here wearing orange helmets and trying these things out. So they've been out for a couple months now. Oh yeah. And today is really actually gonna be my first experience riding with them. Josh Fout has been riding with them quite a bit. Dennis Stapleton has been riding with them quite a bit. We've done the 6 hour on these tires. So we got a good amount of time on them, but today is all about going back to back. We got the Dunlop AT81 off-road tire to compare to the new version, the AT82. Jay, what's the excitement about the tires? Because I know there's been a couple guys riding with them in Supercross too, a little bit of crossover. So
well, the big thing is that it's for 18-inch and 19-inch bikes. We have both covered there. And then the rear is a bi-directional rear. So it has a flat edge if for harder packed situations, and like a scoopy edge for most of the terrain, like especially out west here in the winter, the sandier conditions, that scoopy tire. So we can test it in both directions, 18 and 19-inch. We'll test it both ways. And then in the front, we have an 80-100 and a 90-100 version. So a little bit wider version, maybe for those drier, harder pack conditions with that 90. So we have all those different things to test and to run through.
All right, so we got a lot of tires to go run through today. Honda 450 is going to be our test bike. We have the 450 RX as our off-road 18-inch test bike. Let's hit the track and see what they're all about.
So these are the options we have today. We have our 80-121, our 90-121. We have our directional rear tire, which can go either direction if you want the scoop feel or you want the flat square edge, which is common. These tires were designed for the off-road market. Today we're going to be running them on the RX and the Honda Works Edition 450 motocross bike, going back and forth. We also have a set of 18s mounted up on the RX. Look forward to seeing what the MXA crew has to say.
Glen Helen, office day done. Sean Bushnell, Josh Fout, Dennis Stapleton, and myself, we were all testing on Hondas today. It was a big Honda day and a big Dunlop AT82 tire testing today. It's kind of cool that they have an off-road tire that's good enough to be run at the top level of Supercross and Motocross. Dennis, he's our tire tester. You spent quite a bit of time on this. How much time do you think you got on the AT82 so far?
Yeah, so I had 2 front tires before today, and I had a rear tire. and I have one on the bike as we showed up. I ran it at the qualifiers for the last Mammoth area, LCQ, whatever you want to call it, and the tires worked really well. I was really impressed with them. I did learn that the front tire has a taller feel, so you kind of have to adjust the bike or adjust your riding style a little bit to get used to it immediately. The scoop in the loam for the start is kind of like that in-between tire for me. I'm not really a scoop guy because we live in California. Tracks aren't that deep here. So the scoop for the starts worked really good at Fox Raceway, and they pull up the hill really good at Glen Helen here today.
Sean Bushnell and Josh Fout, you guys rode, Josh, you start. You guys rode the 450 RX, the cross-country bike. These guys are getting ready to race the 10-hour this weekend here. By the time the video comes out, these guys will already have done the 10-hour. But you guys were off-roading on an off-road bike, 18-inch rear wheel, off-road trails. How was it?
It was good. So I think we opted for maybe a 90 on the front, you know, because going in the back, getting that bump absorption was good. Getting through rain ruts, that was nice. And even on the hardest back, I agree with Dennis, scoop all day. For what it lost in braking, wasn't worth running the hard pack stuff, so scoop no matter what.
And explain a little bit how the scoop works. You can see it, but it's a directional tire that you can switch it, right?
Yeah, it is directional tire. So if you're running like a softer track like a main Glen Helen, you can run the scoop, you know, get a little more traction. And you can flip it, it's more square. They say better for hard pack, but I personally found that what I lost in braking wasn't worth acceleration.
Scoop guy. All right, Sean Bushnell, Honda life. What was it like for you?
It was good. I confirmed the scoop was superior traction and handling when we flipped it around. Bump absorption actually changed a little bit too. The braking was inferior and the traction was inferior, so scoop all day long was the better performance on the rear.
Dennis Stapleton, we got the 8100 right here, 8121 front, and a 9121 front on the left hand here. It's pretty unique. We don't get to do this very much at MXA. Not many brands were really switching between 90 and 8100. 80 is the traditional tire. This tire is actually taller than even the 33 stock, right? What we normally run, the 3S. So
It's definitely taller than 34, 33.
yeah, explain the difference between these and like, I guess what it's like with the new 82.
Well, you know, obviously the 90 is going to be even taller than the 80. So it adds more volume in the tire, adds a little bit more comfort, straight line stability, and like just brake function and stuff, getting on the brakes is much more comfortable with the 90. The 80 just felt a little easier on the hard pack to kind of roll into the really shallow ruts, as Glen Helen's like a sandstone. Some people call it sandy. We think it's kind of hard pack.
Yeah.
So it just followed into the ground a little easier. It gives you more hand feel, more reading. It just seems a little bit more nimble. And the tire pressure on this bike, on this tire, is definitely key to find the mark, you know. Maybe if you're riding in softer terrain on the East Coast, 13 might work for you.
Yep.
Out here today, Glen Helen is either all uphill or all downhill. Everything's an off camber, so you're loading the tire a lot, so tire pressure is a must out here. We end up running the front tire at 14 today for the conditions, but it's kind of just finding your happy medium spot. Are you kind of a lazy front end steering guy? Are you a more aggressive front end steering guy? Maybe you have to change the sag or the fork height to make it perfect, but this tire's front grip and lean angle grip is really good, and it gives you a lot of confidence standing up, kind of like the Jet Lawrence style where you stand up really late. I could trust the front end on the Honda today rolling in, and that's a real good thing.
I like it. All right, so pretty much final thing for me, it's really cool that we have an 80 and a 90-100 option in the AT82 tire. The 90 is a lot bigger, more surface area, more cushion, and just more comfort. So we're riding the Honda 450 today, not known for comfort, and the 90 actually helped that a ton. Also on the rear, it's pretty cool. They got the two different directions to go back and forth with. All right, good times. Thank you guys. Off to the next one. Also, we just released a new video with Dennis Stapleton and the Honda CRF 450. We spent over 200 hours on that platform last year, 100 hours on our Honda 450, 100 hours on our Works Edition. Then this year we got about 30 hours on both bikes, and got a lot of time on those things. So Dennis Stapleton, he knows the ins and outs of the Hondas. If you want to check out that video, it's on our YouTube channel and our website right now. Also, busy week coming up for the Motocross Action Wrecking Crew. We are heading to Canada this weekend to race the Manitoba Canadian National. It's going to be exciting. The MX 101 Yamaha team are letting me ride one of their YZ 450Fs, and I'm excited to go race and mix it up with the Canadians this weekend and see how we do. So we raced Paula National on a 350. We raced Hangtown on a KTM 450 Factory Edition. Now we're going to Canada this weekend. We're going to hang out with the FXR guys and go racing up there. And then we're going to race the KTM 450 Factory Edition with MX Tech suspension at the Redbud National. So MX Tech, I used their suspension at Hangtown. We're going to use it again at the Redbud National. So lots of stuff coming up. Also, Kawasaki just released their all-new 2025 KX250 bike, following in the footsteps of the KX450 from last year. So excited to ride that bike here soon. We're also riding the new 2025 KTM 450 as well as the 2025 Honda CRF 250 next week. So stay tuned for that. If you have any questions about the new Honda 250 and the new Honda 250 Works Edition bikes, we're going to be riding both of those next week. So leave them in the comments here down below. Thank you guys for watching this video. Thanks to O'Neil for supporting it, and we'll see you guys in the next one.